You were saying you had some cooling issues with one of your cars recently.
Yeah, so it's been a challenge. Car's probably not built to be in the city in summer, but temperature's getting high, so just keeping an eye on things. And I did a few tricks just to bring the fan on a little bit earlier. I've changed the radiator cap as well. That's probably the first thing you go for when you start having heat issues, and make sure your fan's working. It's probably something I need to keep troubleshooting.
Well, we've already talked about a couple of solutions for that, but it's actually something that's a real problem, especially in Queensland in summer, is overheating. And yours might be just a case of a bigger engine, smaller radiator car that wasn't designed to be stopped so much. It's more of a weekend car. But you do make a couple of really good points, and we've talked about a product that we don't have here today, which is called Water Wetter. Yep, I remember back in the days of racing, you can bring temperatures down, a good few degrees just by adding that to existing coolant. A couple of really important things to make sure are good. First and foremost, like Matt was saying, radiator cap. These are way more important than you'd actually ever think. So because the cooling system's pressurized, that's your pressurization valve. Your pressurization stopper. If you lose pressure, then your system tends to boil over very quickly, and that's going to be the first major cause of overheating. Something you can check and change at home for usually under $20. Great preventative maintenance.
First thing to do.
Yep. And then a couple of things that I've seen really bad lately are old water pumps. So Matt's grabbed out this one, and you can see the brilliant thing about these quality aftermarket parts, and also the weak point, steel impellers. So steel impeller, less likely for brittle failure, less likely for generic failure, that sort of thing, but they also just rust. So a couple of ones I've seen lately rusted the impeller blades almost entirely away. It's quite a difficult issue to diagnose, because it could be a couple of things, blockages or radiator or something like that.
Without pulling it apart.
Good thing to check, good thing to replace maybe every 150,000 kilometres if it's not done with a timing belt. And interestingly, all of the problems that we see with these steel blade impeller water pumps actually comes back to coolant. So do you want to show us some of the products you've got over there?
I might start from this side. Okay, so this is probably the most common one. So it's your green long life coolant. So this one here, this is a premix. So you usually have your concentrate and your premix. So your concentrate you mix with like demineralized water, and you can get a ratio of 1 to 2 or 1 to 3. So that's 1 to 3, your 5 litres will make 15. So you can check to see how much your car holds. But this is a premix one, so you just drop it straight in. Most common one out there, probably a lot of your older cars will use this one, and it all depends on the metal that's in your car, so your motor and whatever it's called.
Yeah, so green premix, it's really by the manufacturer's recommendation, so you can either check what colour's in your car for a start, or you can even just check with Penrite's app or check with Newlon's app, or same as always. But premix, I think, is probably one of the better products for the home gamer.
It's just easy.
Yeah, with your concentrate, you might end up saving yourself a bit of money, but you also have to figure out the concentration levels on the side of the road or wherever you're doing some work or wherever you've broken down. The benefit with concentrate is that if you've got different climates, you can accommodate. So a 50-50 mix might deal with cold weather better, but premix, you can just throw it in the boot and forget about it.
Yeah, don't need to give a thought. So yeah, that's the most common one that we would sell. This is the red, another premix, and this one here. We probably see these more so used in like more modern GMs and stuff like that.
We're talking American design, so probably GM, Mopar, Ford vehicles, a fair few use. And then the really weird one you've got there, which is purple. I don't know that I've ever had to use purple, but apparently it's for some of the very new Volkswagens, some of the very new VAG products, so Lamborghini, Audi, Bentley. I'm not exactly sure what else, but...
So if you've got a Lamborghini, you want to update the coolant in there, I'm your guy. We've got this stuff here.
Yeah, and I'm sure you probably pay a little bit more to have the privilege of a Lamborghini coolant in your Volkswagen, but
price-wise, I mean, they'll be the cheapest, and it's just ascending from there.
Yeah, there's actually a really interesting product here. If you're in a pickle and you don't know what's going on at all, universal top-up. So this is a pretty new product, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a few years old now, but this one here it's the one that suits all. So there's just ready to use ones. You're not sure, your car's not like where you are when you're shopping to buy this thing, or you're just going to a servo and they don't have much of a range or something like that. This one here will cover everything.
Yeah.
So it's a safe bet. It is a little bit more expensive, but it's I suppose a peace of mind thing and not choosing the wrong thing, because choose the wrong thing and then you put it in there, you work it out, and then you got to drop it and do it again. So it's just there might be savings by doing it once, not twice.
Yeah, and I've actually seen and heard stories of people putting green in where red should be, and it actually can cause leaks down the road or something like that. So it might be the gasket materials designed for, but coolant is definitely something really important to look at, and it's not just for the fact that it cools the engine, it's also a big lubrication factor. Yep. And its main purpose is rust prevention, or its second main purpose is rust prevention. So,
which is what you're seeing with the water pumps.
With the water pumps,
there might be a case where their coolant is probably being used too long, or maybe they're just using water or something like that, and then you start seeing the rust down the road.
Yeah, so if you're not seeing a nice bright-ish coloured coolant, then you've probably been diluted with water a fair bit. Just check on that, because you can end up with a lot more expensive problem down the road when this fails and you end up with rust clogging the radiator. So
that's probably you got other problems. When this leaks and you're starting to get lower levels, obviously you're going to start having heat issues because you don't have it cycling around. You know, you can pick it up by the heat, but maybe before that you can pick it up by the smell or the colour of what's being left on your garage floor. It's like a sweet smell.
Most coolants are an ester ether glycol base, so they're incredibly poisonous to humans.
Absolutely.
But the glycol factor is sort of similar to glucose, I believe. So it ends up giving it that really sweet smell, and if you've ever unfortunately tasted it, it's quite sweet as well. A horrible sweet, and it's...
don't add it to your coffee.
The forbidden green Kool-Aid.
Forbidden green. The forbidden fruit, we'll call it.
But yeah, so big problems that I've been seeing lately. In fact, a couple of water pumps in the last few months.
Yeah, we might. You show me some images. So Lachlan's got some images of jobs he's worked on where it hasn't been looked after, and we'll just throw them up so you've got a bit of an idea of what it gets to.
There is a point at which you can't save a clogged radiator. There is a point at which you have to sort of just look at replacing things.
Yep.
But the final product we want to look at today can get you out of most of these situations. So if you're going to change the coolant anyway, maybe look at this radiator flush.
Just a maintenance product. Just keep everything cool and flowing, and if it's not flowing well, it's not going to be cooling as well as what it can. So this is just one that you run through and just on directions. So you drain it, then you refill it, and then you add this in and you run it for 10-15 minutes, and then you drop it again. So it's just pretty straightforward. So if you're already into the service, you might as well do this.
I haven't looked specifically at this product, but I think it's probably got some sort of corrosion converter, maybe a corrosion inhibitor in it, probably some sort of detergent, which would make a lot of sense. And the whole goal is to just break down as much of that stuff, because if you can't get the coolant flowing through the radiator or through the water pump or through the thermostat even, you're going to end up with the same overheating problem.
So good item to use.
And for the sake of $20 or $30, if you're going to spend the afternoon changing your coolant anyway, just go and do it. You'll have a lot more reliable car in the future.
Did we talk about the thermostat?
We didn't so much, but this is a problem that the home gamer is probably not going to see so much. They are pretty easy to change on most vehicles. However, the newer thermostats are not as common for failure. So in the olden days, you might have seen a thermostat fail every, 150,000 Ks. Really, it's kind of like the second, third, fourth thing that I'm looking at in the system nowadays. 90% of the problems that we're seeing as mechanics are leak related or misuse related. The only time that we're seeing these fail regularly seems to be with the GM products at the moment. So I'm sure you're selling a lot of thermostat housing assemblies for the 1.8 litre cruisers and Traxxas.
We certainly do sell a lot of that product.
The 1.8 GM products, they unfortunately used a plastic housing, electronically controlled thermostat. So the thermostat housing cracks or leaks, causes some problems. And that's all we're seeing. So Most of the time it's not a problem, but with those GM products, definitely something to look
Keep
out
an eye
for.
on it. Sometimes we forget about it when we've had a good run, but it is worthwhile just keeping a bit of an eye on your temperature and
Yeah.
just to make sure that your water temp's sort of staying consistent.
And make sure it's not going up. Also make sure it's not going down. That's two very bad conditions to have.
Yep.
Going up is the first sign of a problem. Going down is the second very big sign of a problem.
Okay, all right. When you notice either one of these,
Stop straight away.
stop straight away.
Coolant temperature sensors are registering coolant passing. If there's no coolant, the gauge drops to 0.
Your temperature sender unit might not be working if it's going down.
Yep.
And there's no control. If it's an electronically controlled thermostat, there's no control over that function.
That can be bad
Or
as
you're
well.
just in the dark and you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. With the thermostat, that you'll notice some numbers, and usually the first number on there, this one is TT 2003. That's sort of like the size and design of the unit. And then the next number, -195, that'll be like a Fahrenheit activation number. So sometimes what people will do is if they want it to turn on a little bit earlier, they'll get one that's 185 or
Yeah.
175 or something like that, just depending on what you're trying to do. So there are some tricks out there. You have the recommended one, which is what they'd likely have from the factory, and then there's some other directions you can go.
Yeah, there is a great thing if you know that number as well, or if you can find out your opening temperature and you've got a concern with the thermostat, bring a pot of water to that temperature on the stove, just drop it in and see if it opens. If you've got actual concerns, that can solve them pretty quick.
Yep, well, I think we've covered everything that we wanted to cover today. We look forward to catching up with you guys next time. Certainly look forward to any comments, suggestions, if there's something you want us to cover. You've got Lachlan here from Kashi. He's working on cars every day, so he sees a wide range of issues that are happening with cars, and he can give good advice as to how to address them. And then myself, I'm the product guy, so if you have any interesting questions about products, we can certainly do a bit of a show and tell and talk about the intricacies of products as well.
Yeah, and let us know. I think we've already got some people lined up that we would like to try and have on the podcast in the new year. But anyone you'd like to see on here as, as an
Still
additional
shout out
as well,
yeah.
we'll see what we can do.
We'll see you all later.
Have a good week.